Live on this beautiful Monday afternoon. It's fucking hot out here. Let's see who's live. I know I got some notifications earlier. We got President Sunday. Jim Bob's live. New atheist kid on the block. Planet Peterson. I think I've heard of him. So it has come to my attention. It's been brought to my attention. Apparently, way too many people are up in my business, according to my kid's mom. Chaotic Truth Live. American men are under attack. Hooters and Pizza Hut closing. Dear Woke Christian. Ooh, Sammy the Bull is live. Bible study with R.C. Sproul. So, with that being said, she told me that, and then she told me, apparently that she's aware of this channel and has watched it, which is terrifying. Terrifying. Hey, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, good to see you. Null Void, R.C. Sproul's Hard Saying is a decent book. I haven't read any of his stuff. I've only seen him on his channel on here. I know Godless Granny did a pretty scathing review of him, though. Some stuff to say about him. So, yeah, in keeping with what I said before, trying not to share so much personal shit, I guess, but things are going good, going good. I had to cancel my dates for today. It was a weird weekend, so just leave it at that. But I did get to see my kids, so hey, Housey, good to see you. Probably host the Path of Equanimity on Wednesday night. That's looking like it'll be best for this week. Fridays are pretty much out. And then now I've got another thing going on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so Monday and Wednesday evenings appear to be my time to play. Hey Jill, good to see you. I wanted to read this article I found. Stoic Recovery. What stands in the way becomes the way, by James Daltrey. And this is used by permission of Seth Blaze. Apparently, he's got a website. So there I found myself, withdrawing from heroin, unemployed, divorced, and laying restlessly in a twin-sized bed in the small room I shared with a stranger. This man's structured, sober living house wasn't the lifestyle I was accustomed to living, or where I imagined I would be at 28 years old. 1 year prior, my wife had asked me to move out of our home. I struggled with my addiction to drugs and alcohol throughout our entire 6-year relationship, and by the time she finally asked me to leave, I was almost bedridden, not even slightly resembling a healthy man or present husband. She gently framed her request as a temporary break, but I knew that the divorce papers would soon follow. After leaving with little more than a bag of clothing, I continued to slip further into the grips of my addiction and closer to death. I had moved into my mother's spare bedroom, a 2-hour drive from where I had called home, and isolated myself from reality. My world quickly shrunk down to only include the small bedroom and a phone number for a local and somewhat reliable heroin dealer. For weeks on end, the only time I left that bedroom was to buy drugs. Being conscious was excruciating, so I injected myself with enough heroin to merely exist in a state of numbness and indifference to anything outside of my tiny world. At times, I was also indifferent to my seemingly inevitable death, and I came close to that outcome more than once. Thankfully, with the help of an intervention from some people in my life, I found my way into that structured men's sober house where I would finally start to recover. Unable to sleep on one of my first nights in that house, I rolled over and reached for the few personal items I had brought to this men's sober house. First was a book of translated writings by Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius titled Meditations, along with 2 related books on Stoicism by Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday runs Daily Stoic, great website by the way. What stands in the way becomes the way. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius writes about one philosophy that stands out to me the most. Our actions may be impeded, but there can be no impeding our intentions or dispositions, because we can accommodate and adapt. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. He then concludes with words that would change the course of my life. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Most people struggling with substance use disorder see their addiction as an obstacle that is seemingly impossible to overcome. I saw it as something that prevented me from being the person I wanted to be, doing the things I wanted to do, and not allowing me to experience health and happiness. For years, I did what many people do when faced with a significant obstacle: nothing. I was stuck. I knew that I wanted to recover, but I was held down by my fears and frustrations. These feelings brought me to a place of isolation, shame, and denial. The obstacle of addiction and stigma. According to SAMHSA's 2014 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, an estimated 43.6 million, or 18.1% of American adults experience some form of mental illness. In the past year, 20.2 million adults, or 8.4%, had a substance use disorder. 8.4% of the people in this country have a substance use disorder, but most of us are still afraid to talk about it openly. There are many barriers to treatment for those suffering, but the stigma is one of the strongest. Even with proper treatment, the stigma of substance use can be hard to escape. People in recovery face many obstacles fueled by stigma, especially those who have been in treatment programs or the criminal justice system. Employment, education, and obtaining insurance are all things filled with uncertainty and discrimination for those in recovery. These things are critical to a stable recovery, but they are harder to obtain for people who have been treated for substance use because of the stigma society places on them. It was this stigma that prevented me from asking for help until I had already lost everything around me. Before recovering, I had to first accept that I couldn't change the things I had done in my past or undo any of the damage to my relationships. The only thing I could control was the choices I made in that present moment and into the future. The first step of Alcoholics Anonymous says, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. I interpret this step as not saying that I don't have the power to change my life and circumstances, but that before I can change, I need to fully accept my addiction and recognize that I can't manage my life while still using drugs and alcohol. Fighting against that fact, the fact that I had a substance use disorder, would only prevent me from overcoming it. When I made the decision to stop fighting and hiding my addiction, and instead embraced it, I started to see and experience the hidden benefits. allowing the obstacle to defeat itself. In his book titled The Obstacle is the Way, Ryan Holiday writes that instead of fighting obstacles, we can allow them to defeat themselves. He writes, "It is, however, time to acknowledge that some adversity might be possible for you to defeat. Might be impossible for you to defeat. No matter how hard you try, instead, you must find some way to use the adversity, its energy, to help yourself." Ryan follows this up with a real-world example to help better explain the concept. Before the invention of steam power, boat captains had an ingenious way of defeating the wickedly strong current of the Mississippi River. A boat going upriver would pull alongside a boat about to head downriver, and after wrapping a rope around a tree or a rock, the boats would tie themselves to each other. The second boat would let go and let the river take it downstream, slingshotting the other vessel upstream. My addiction to drugs and alcohol was like a raging river, and I had been trying to swim upstream my entire life. I refused to accept that fact, that I couldn't change the direction of the current. I could fight the river and swim against it for a short time, but would always quickly exhaust myself and give in to my disease. After a decade of fighting against my addiction in silence and not accepting that I could never use drugs and alcohol again, I had to admit that my approach wasn't working, and it never was going to work in the future. I stopped assuming that fighting against my disease and swimming against the current was the only way to defeat my addiction. I decided to grab power away from the stigma by owning it and openly sharing my experience with addiction and the dark places that it brought me. I took action by finding ways I could actively reach out and honestly share my experience. By openly and honestly sharing my experience, I would strip the stigma and the power that it had over me. I said yes when asked to be featured in a local news story about addiction, and this decision opened me up to several more opportunities to get involved with the recovery movement and to continue sharing my story. I found purpose and accountability by staying connected and honest with those around me and to the public, using the power of my addiction to launch my advocacy efforts and create purpose for myself, inspired by Stoic philosophy, saved my life. What life is like today. Today I continue to openly share my experience in hopes that I can help someone else. Embracing the weight of my addiction and facing my disease has allowed me to find serenity, turning the most difficult times in my life into the greatest gifts. I have fully accepted my addiction, and I'm grateful for the experiences and lessons. Recently, I joined the board of directors for a nonprofit residential treatment program, started working as a recovery coach for several police departments, and partnered with a newspaper to launch a recovery-themed column. This month marks 1 year from when I had the words, "The obstacle is the way," tattooed on my left arm. It serves as an important personal reminder that all obstacles have hidden lessons and gifts waiting to be discovered. Ryan Holiday said it best. What's on the other side? I'll tell you. You. You are on the other side of those struggles. And you realize you only knew a little bit about. You learn you're capable of more than you know. The person I am today would not exist without the obstacles I've had to endure, and for that I'm grateful to have experienced them. What stands in the way becomes the way. Seth Blaze. Hey, good evening, Paul. Good to see you. House, you said you just had the most vivid dream. It's been weeks since you've had one at all. Yeah, for me, those come pretty often these days. This morning, I had a pretty intense dream, and well, in short, my mom, for some reason, was like holding me prisoner, and she had my cell phone, so that's like what I remember of it. Like, she was like, had me locked up in a room somewhere, and we were arguing over my cell phone, and I don't know, it was weird. Okay. Yeah, I get some pretty gnarly ones. When I was in detox, the first time, I had a super vivid dream where I was a security guard and I was on a school bus. And all the kids on the school bus were smoking weed. And I robbed them at gunpoint and I stole all their weed. And then I went on like this gnarly like rampage across town. And I was running from the police. And yeah, that was pretty interesting. These are all pretty old. So we got our election guide. So I was reading through that last night, and pretty sure I know which candidates I like, for the most part. But then we've got this this city measure, which I'm on the fence about. So this measure M says, shall the measure imposing a cannabis or marijuana business license tax of up to 7% of gross receipts or $10 per square foot of commercial grow area, lasting until voters end it, and estimated to generate $1,500,000 to $2,200,000 dollars annually to provide city services such as police protection, recreational services, services to local youth and seniors, community grant programs, and for general government use, with all funds staying local and subject to annual audit, be adopted. So the summary is the City Council has placed a measure on the ballot to adopt a tax on cannabis, marijuana businesses that may operate in the city in the future. If voters approve this tax, the City Council will be allowed to impose it at rates similar to those in other East Bay communities. The city currently prohibits all commercial cannabis activities beyond personal cultivation. However, the City Council is considering whether to permit certain other kinds of cannabis businesses. This measure would allow the City Council to tax those businesses. I don't know. As we already, yeah, so we don't have any dispensaries here. But this apparently would allow dispensaries in. But would this drive the price up? I don't know. See, it's not my thing anymore because I don't smoke pot, but I did vote to legalize it, so I kind of feel like it has something to do with me. So, alright, this one's a few days old. Yeah, it is hot out today, huh? Yeah, I was supposed to go get coffee with my friend, and she was like, I don't even want to walk down to the coffee shop. And so, yeah, I'm hoping it's not this hot on Wednesday, because I'm supposed to be out doing some labor. Alright, this is from the 25th, that was 5 days ago, Inglewood, California. Governor Gavin Newsom today signed 3 bills into law allowing communities to restrict oil drilling and help the state address polluting idle wells. The legislation will help protect public health, the environment, and empower local communities to set greater protections around oil and gas activities in their neighborhoods. Quote, the health of our communities always comes first. These new laws allow local leaders to limit dangerous oil and gas activities near homes, schools, and other areas as they see fit for their communities, and give the state more tools to make sure that idle and low-producing wells get plugged sooner. This builds off of all of the above efforts to protect communities from pollution and hold big oil accountable. Empowering local communities to restrict oil and gas operations. AB 3233 by Assemblymember Don Addis, Democrat from Morro Bay, gives cities and counties greater authority to impose restrictions on oil and gas operations, including by limiting or prohibiting new oil and gas developments in their jurisdictions. By providing local jurisdictions with the power to make these decisions, California is taking a major step towards protecting vulnerable communities from the health impacts of industrial operations. The bill overrides recent court decisions that blocked ordinances limiting oil drilling adopted by the voters of Monterey County and the Los Angeles City Council. The signing of AB 3233 is a vital win for communities across the Central Coast and all of California, said Assemblymember Don Addis. Putting this bill into law affirms our right to clean air and water, free of oil and gas pollution. I'm thankful to Governor Gavin Newsom for signing this important bill into law, to my colleagues for helping me get it to his desk, and to the many community members and leaders who have been fighting this battle with me. Today is a huge win for the well-being of all Californians. Addressing the dangers of idle wells in communities. AB 1866 by Assemblymember Greg Hart, Democrat, Santa Barbara, addresses the growing problem of idle oil and gas wells across the state. These wells, which are no longer in active use but have not been properly decommissioned, pose a significant risk to both the environment and nearby communities. Under this new law, fees on idle wells are increased and stricter regulations will be enforced to ensure that oil companies are held responsible for maintaining and safely plugging idle wells, preventing leaks and contamination. Quote, this is a landmark victory for taxpayers and communities most affected by the harmful health impacts of neighborhood oil drilling, said Assemblymember Greg Hart. I am proud of this decisive action we are taking today to hold the oil industry responsible for plugging over 40,000 idle oil wells across California. I want to thank Governor Newsom for recognizing the urgency of solving the idle oil well crisis in the state. Shutting down more oil wells in the Inglewood oil field. AB 2716 by Assemblymember Isaac Bryan, Democrat, Los Angeles, prohibits the operation of low oil production oil and gas wells located in an oil field within the Baldwin Hills Conservancy, Inglewood oil field, and imposes $10,000 per month penalty on those wells until they are permanently plugged and abandoned. Penalty funds will go to the projects like park creation to benefit the community. Quote, the Inglewood oil field is the largest urban oil field in our state. Production in recent years has been marginal, but for decades the negative health impacts surrounding it have cost the nearby community with their life expectancy, said Assemblymember Bryan. Today, with Governor Newsom's signature, we will finally shut it down and establish the state's first repair fund for the frontline communities who have been organizing for years to be seen, heard, and protected. California's leadership in holding big oil accountable. Together, these laws marked another step forward in California's ongoing effort to cut pollution and protect communities. Just last month, Governor Newsom announced a plan to further hold big oil accountable for profiting off Californians while polluting our communities, preventing gas price spikes, and saving people money at the pump. The state notched a major victory against big oil in June, with the industry pulling its referendum to repeal California's law protecting neighborhoods from the dangerous impacts of drilling. This allowed California's law requiring setbacks that oil drilling can't be within 3,200 feet of sensitive community areas like schools, daycares, and more to move forward, a crucial protection for public health and safety. Last year, California sued Big Oil for more than 50 years of deception, cover-up, and damage that have cost California taxpayers billions of dollars in health and environmental impacts. And that's from the governor's office. Having a monster. I feel like a monster today. Been staying up too late. I've got to try to get to bed at a reasonable hour tonight. I was up late the last couple nights. I ended up sleeping in. Had to work on the swing shift last night. Commer.org. Decided to pull this up. If you don't know, Randolph Richardson, hey, Gorilla's Random Thoughts, good to see you. Cussing out this POS machine? Don't cuss at it. It's not sentient. So Randolph Richardson runs this site, along with some others, I think, atheistfrontier.com. Let's read it out loud. Welcome to the Atheist Frontier, where we question what's real and encourage you to do the same. Skepticism plays an inherently important role in determining what may very well be fictional. And then they ask, what is atheism? Ooh, I heard somebody popping in my backstage. Atheism is the absence of belief in deities. The word atheist originated from the ancient Greek word atheos, which means godless, according to Google Translate, or more generally, without a deity. Logical, objective, verifiable evidence. Love. Who we got here? Geo, Sam. What's up, Geo? How's it going, buddy?
Hey. Going all right.
Good to see you.
Yeah, same here. How's my mic?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Get a little more light on the subject. All right, there.
Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Would you rather I take a sledgehammer? No, don't do that. Don't break it. I think he's in a fight with his computer.
So I heard some of what you read there. Is that's someone's book or someone's, what is that?
Oh no, yeah, it was just an article that was written. It was based on it was based on Marcus Aurelius, and then that was kind of further expounded upon by this guy Ryan Holiday, who's got a couple books on Stoicism.
Mm-hmm.
Do you study Stoic philosophy at all?
Oh, no. I don't study philosophy.
No?
No, I haven't. Only in conversation with other people. But it doesn't go very far with me, philosophy.
Yeah. Well, that's why one of the reasons I like Stoicism. It's all very practical, so they don't go into a bunch of metaphysics and woo and all of that. So the main the main premise is that we're all designed to be social beings, and they emphasize emotional regulation in order to be a more productive member of society. Well, Halsey says she studied it a little.
Well, I'm more interested in being in touch with my emotions and uh, acknowledging them when they occur and not stifling them. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. That's not stoicism at all. That's, I don't know what that
Well,
is.
yeah, I mean, it can be, right? Because they don't tell you, like, not to be emotional, right? Like, you're supposed to acknowledge your emotions and inquire about them and understand them better, but not being reactionary, you know? Not reacting out of emotion.
Well, being that we're emotional creatures, uh, you may give off mixed signals if you don't give appropriate emotional responses when appropriate. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I mean, stoicism is one thing, stone cold, no emotions is another, right?
True, yeah. Um,
There
I
has to be
find,
there's like a gray area. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
and that's the one thing, like, you know, Marcus Aurelius does talk about keeping a good disposition and, uh, you know, not walking around with a scowl. Um, of course, he's talking, you know, his perspective is very interesting because he's coming from the perspective of being an emperor, right? But he's like, he's got all this wealth and power and all this stuff, but he chooses to live as a minimalist, you know? Um,
Hmm.
so I think he's a very interesting historical figure. Hey, nerdy rodent. And Halsey says, use stoicism to deal with a lot of emotional stuff and motivational stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's another thing they teach is to come to terms with the fact of your mortality and not to waste your life. You know, essentially, like accomplish as much as you can because you don't have forever, right? So doing what you can today.
Hmm. There's a thing called what compartmentalization. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You could use stoicism as a compartment. You just, here's the stoicism I use when this occurs, and then you have another compartment for when you want to be emotional, right? So there's these two different compartments, and you have to juggle the compartments in order to keep a fine, kind of even keel. Is that sustainable? I don't know. For like a long-term goal, I don't think that's sustainable because they may change and they may shift. If you're compartmentalizing things, you may have to shift things around. So that creates another issue in itself. So, I don't know how. I think there's like diminishing returns with compartmentalization. Uh, but maybe that's just my opinion. I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, it can be difficult, and I think there's some utility to like having that space where you can vent your emotions, right? Like for me, it's like, you know, music. You know, it could be any type of like creative expression, or whether it's like you know, you do like, you know, sports, you know, especially like contact sports or something, you know, in an appropriate venue so that you can kind of vent that energy, right?
Right.
But I think of that as like compartmentalization. It's like, oh, if I'm angry at this person, I'm not going to take it out on this person. I'm going to go find some other healthy way to vent that frustration, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't think that's compartmentalization. I think that's just a way of coping other than compartmentalization. I don't know what it's called, but it's not. I don't think it's compartmentalization. But you said
Okay.
something earlier about the stigma that goes along with addiction, and
Yeah.
that's a real thing, and so is like the 12-step programs. They foster, and they don't foster, but they encourage anonymity, which in turn fosters, the I said it earlier. I just said it now. I'm blanking. It fosters the anonymity to keep things secret. By having anonymity forces you to be secretive about your addiction, which is like a vicious circle, right?
Yeah. I mean, I understand why they do it. It's really it's not so much about like your anonymity, but it creates a safe space for everybody, where ideally, at least, it would be an environment free from gossip. So you don't go around sharing other people's business, so they feel safe to open up in those rooms, right? In those spaces. But at the same time, if you share enough about yourself, like I've gotten to know, people in there who are like lawyers and doctors and things like that. And so they're very much like under scrutiny at their jobs, and so I understand more why that anonymity is important. I also, have some reservations about, who I would trust in the medical profession after knowing so many people in that profession who have, had these types of issues. But, I mean, it's better to know that they're in a program, I guess,
Well, the anonymity keeps it secret. My doctor could be a drug addict I'd never know.
Right.
And that's the problem. I'd like to know that. But, they don't want me to know that. The doctor doesn't want me to know that because there's a stigma.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It all comes back to stigma. Take the stigma, throw it away, and then it becomes like diabetes. Right?
Yeah. Well, the only
is my
question
doctor
then
wait, is my doctor going to hide the fact that he's a diabetic from me?
probably not.
Well, there's no stigma. Is there a stigma attached? If we decided to switch the stigma to diabetes, we'd have people hiding their diabetes because of a stigma, right?
Of course, I don't know. Depending on the profession, like say that was your a chef or something that had the diabetes. Now, then would you know what I mean? Like if that was their profession, and then you're like, oh, but he can't even, like taste this food that he's cooking, right? Maybe because it has, it has too many sugars or something like that. I don't know. It's probably a bad example. I'm just thinking in the case of the doctor,
disease.
like
Take any disease that you could think of, and just apply the same stigma that's applied to, say, addiction. It makes no sense, first of all, right, to do that. If someone has high blood pressure, why should they feel they have to hide that and not reveal that to others when it might be important, right?
well, one specific example I could think of is a person who I found out is a surgeon, right? And they were also an alcoholic. And so my concern would be, alcoholics get the shakes, right? And so if this person's practicing and they're dry, then my fear would be that their hands wouldn't be steady, right? And you want somebody to be very steady and precise if they're performing a surgery.
Right. Well, if they hide that, then they don't get the help that they need.
Right.
And then they can go on and to hurt people. And then who's liable for that? Because they're not revealing that they're an alcoholic. So now they have all these litigations. It's all... The stigma is what keeps it secret and what keeps it like wanting to keep it a secret. Instead of actually saying, listen, it's like I have a disease. Let's do something about it instead of just living with the disease and letting it ravage me. Let's do something about it, But that's not how it's viewed.
Yeah. It's interesting to me too because a lot of the people who I know who who have gone into work in like treatment centers and stuff like that, they had all previously been in that position, so they're all recovering addicts, you know what I mean? For the most part, by and large, like everybody who gets into like recovery as a profession are generally people who have been involved in recovery a long time, and so they've been on the other side of that.
Right.
I think that's one way to kind of keep refreshing yourself, and be able to help others in a similar position, right? And to kind of remind yourself where you came from when you struggled.
Well, the blue book, the what's it called, the big blue book or some bullshit like that.
Yeah.
I actually read that. I read it.
This one.
Well, that's a blue book, yeah. You know what I mean? That's the Alcoholics Anonymous book, or the the alcoholic, or the other one. It's whatever, anonymous. You just put an anonymous on it.
Yeah.
Because I had trouble drinking at one point. At least I thought I was having trouble until I just stopped. Some people can't, though. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely at that point. I couldn't stop, which is, why I had to go to detox and everything. I just couldn't stop myself. I had like this feeling of like impending doom. I kept getting sick.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, like recently, it hasn't been like that. Like, I mean, I've been going to the program. I've just gone back to work and everything. But on the occasions when I have drank, I've been able to just stop, go back to the meetings, dry out. So I don't have to go through the process of like going back to detox or residential at this point anymore. So I think it's a matter of like, when you get yourself that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like when you get a buildup in your system, you know what I mean? To where you start having chemical withdrawals, I think that seems to be kind of the tipping point. There's some people who just can't help but go back to that level.
Well, it's part of addiction. It keeps you addicted. That's what you want to do. I mean, I know. I mean, I smoke. I'm addicted to it. Almost every waking moment is connected to it somehow. I fucking hate it. Then again, I love it. It's like, and how do you love that thing that's killing you? But I do. But it's part of the addiction. It's not rational, man. It's not rational.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I've always been something of like a hedonist myself, so
I came to terms with the way I was feeling, when I drank, I didn't feel good. And I conned myself into thinking that when I drank, I felt good. It made me feel good. It was it was a big con job I did on myself. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And, not being able to stop drinking when I wanted to, I think that was like the pivotal point for me. Like if I
Mm.
was to tell myself, "Oh, I'm not going to drink today," and then I would just find myself in a liquor store and kind of not really thinking about it.
Well, there's a thing about, I think it's in that you have to be diligent. If you have addiction, you have to really, if you're looking to not engage in it, you have to really be diligent, and because it'll just sneak up on you, and like you said, you find yourself in the liquor store going home, buying a bottle, going home with a bottle, or going home with a 6 or 12 pack or whatever, and it's not even, it's not even a second thought sometimes. But for me, I had to come to terms with how I felt and how it made me feel, and I didn't want to feel that way anymore. I didn't feel like feeling that way. I don't
Yeah.
know how else to explain it. It made me numb and just uncaring and zero feelings. But that's just temporary, because when it's over, I'm right back to where all the feelings again, right? All the. So I said, why don't I just deal with the actual feelings and forget about this, surface thing that I'm doing to myself, and just feel the feelings. It sounds easy, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I found for me, I ended up bottling it up and then exploding, which was the big problem, that I would just start going off on people, and I felt justified. Halsey says all
Well,
12-step programs are based on the original. I think Bill W. has helped a lot of people, regardless of their religious position. Yeah, and I do agree with that, but yeah, they say
yeah.
it's a spiritual, not a religious program, but it's obviously geared towards, like, Christians, right? And I think it just happens to be that, most
Hmm. Hmm.
Americans are going to end up being Christians, so they kind of just adopted that framework, but then they said, hey, look, you can choose whatever God you want, you just need to believe in one, right?
Yeah. You got to get in the program first, and that's the thing. Yeah, just to be able to be part of it, and still have some semblance of yourself, of what you know what I mean. Like, you come in with yourself, you don't want to lose. You just want to, like, get something from the program, right? So it's not about, you know losing your identity. It's about gaining something back for yourself, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I've never been to
Exactly.
any meetings. Halsey wants to know if I know the meetings. No idea. I have no clue.
Yeah, it starts out, it's very ritualistic, and that's kind of part of the turnoff. Is even in those, there are specifically atheist groups out here, um, but it all starts with the same ritual. Everybody comes in. You read out the steps. You read out the traditions. Usually, you'll say the Serenity Prayer, um, and and then, well, it depends on what types of meetings. There's different types. There's a book study where you just read through the big book. Um, and then there's speaker meetings where they'll have one person who gets up and tells their story, usually for about like 20, 30 minutes. And
Hmm.
then after that, they go around the room, and then depending on how many people, but everybody kind of gets a chance to share. And so you'll share in relation to either what you read in the book or what the speaker had said.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but oftentimes when people come in there, it can be hard to stay on topic because you've got whatever you've got on your mind, so you might just like blurt out whatever's going on with you that day.
Oh, oh.
But that's kind of been like a part of the problem is they the primary focus is on like drugs and alcohol in there, right? So then if you have
Mm,
other issues that are coming up, those will kind of come out, but it's not really the appropriate venue for that type of thing. And one of the things my
mm.
sponsor always says is it's not the greatest place to get like mental health advice, and so if you're struggling with something like that, you
No,
try
no.
to bring it to the group, it doesn't work out so well all the time.
I think the best, like, if maybe pull someone aside afterwards or beforehand and discuss something like that, but not at an open meeting. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
I would do. But
And
I don't know.
yeah, Halsey's correct with this. Unless you're the speaker, it's not like nobody claps. If you're a newcomer or whatever, if you have a birthday, then everybody will clap for you. But they don't generally allow crosstalk, so nobody's supposed to actually respond to what you're saying, at least not in the moment. But in my experience, people will kind of come up to you afterwards to talk about it. And you speak,
Yeah,
group receives neutrally,
I've only
and
seen
and then they go on to the
uh,
next person.
I've seen depictions of meetings in movies and stuff, but never been to any meetings.
Some of them are better than others. I have a couple that I really like going to, and unfortunately they're in kind of competing time slots right now. But generally, in the past I've always gone to the co-ed meetings, but lately I've been going to a lot more men's meetings and specifically meetings for fathers. And so I just find a lot more common ground there.
I had
And
a
also
cousin.
it relieves.
Oh, go
Hmm?
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, it relieves some of the other tension that there is to try and do extracurricular activities. Like
I
I'm a
get it.
horn
Yeah.
dog, so yeah.
Well, I had a cousin who was into he was a big supporter of AA and also NA, and he used his full name when he was up in front of the people in the rooms. He used his full name, and everyone knew who he was and what he did, and there was no this. It was my cousin, and he had no anonymity. And when I first started having issues with the drinking, I spoke to him about this. And he was the one that discouraged me from going to meetings. And he's a guy that chairs meetings. He discouraged me from going. I couldn't believe it. And that was in my early 20s, when I was in my 20s, just getting out of the service. And I never went. So I never went on his advice, on my cousin's advice to stay away from the rooms.
Hmm.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. I guess there could be a number of reasons for that. I mean,
Uh,
like I hadn't wanted to go, and then I kind of got pushed into it during rehab and everything. Um, I had been going before I went to detox and all of that, but I wasn't really into it. Like I was going through the motions of just being there. I didn't want to share or participate in any way. And then when I did start sharing, I came to find that like I was sharing, my shares weren't really appropriate, and that's what I mean. Like, they really just want to talk about your particular struggles with addiction, and when you go in there and kind of start going into all the other stuff in your life, you know, it kind
mm,
of muddies the waters,
right.
because you're
Yeah.
trying to like establish like this linear timeline of like how addiction affected your life. And so if you start tracing it back to like the reasons that you started drinking or whatever, it isn't necessarily important, right? It's just the fact that,
Mm,
drinking had this
yeah.
negative impact and then you wanted to stop,
Right. Yeah. Well, there is a book, right? I mean, you know how when people of faith go to worship, they bring their book, or they have a book, right? And they use the book, and they refer to the book, and the people up there, they preach and they use the book, right? That doesn't happen, it seems, in the rooms, in those AA rooms. They just hand the book out to people, and everyone reads it to themselves. And maybe occasionally they speak about it, but they don't really go in depth about what's going on in that book, right?
Well, that's more like work you're supposed to do with your sponsor for the most part. Or like I said, there are those book study groups where that's all you do.
Oh, they
Um,
have that. Oh,
yeah, yeah. Actually, at the last one I was at, it was kind of
that's
interesting
good.
because I learned that the 12 steps were based on this other 6-step program. And originally, they called it a self improvement program or a self help program. And then later
Hmm.
on, they kind of dispelled with that and they said, actually, it's not self help because you need the power of the group. Like,
Hmm.
and that's what the whole thing's based around is it's community based.
Right, right.
So basically, they're saying like you can read the book on your own, and that's great, but that's why you need the meetings format to go in there and get in touch with other people who have the same problems, and then to kind of develop new friendships with those people.
But the 12, those steps are important, right? That's part of the whole deal of.
Yeah, and you have to work the steps, which the first part of it is just kind of acknowledging that you have a problem and you can't fix it by yourself. And then after that, it kind of gets a little murky because like where I'm at now is the fourth step they call the personal inventory. So you're supposed
Oh,
to catalog the people who you have resentments against, right? But then in turn, the concept is that you have in some way, you know it's your fault that causes you to have resentments towards other people. So regardless of whatever they did, right, like your resentment is your problem, so why do you have those resentments? And
hmm.
they chalk it up to like fear, jealousy. There's a couple other ones, but those are like the main things. I'm afraid, I'm jealous, I'm something about
Envy,
me that makes me resent that person.
envy, greed.
And yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Well, you see, you don't have to be an addiction to do that. You don't have to have an addictive issue to utilize the 12-step program to help yourself.
Some people
That's
think that everybody should utilize the 12-step program, even if they don't have, an addiction per se. Like, that it's just, it helps build character or whatever. More introspection, things that people don't usually go around thinking about. It's like, oh, if, my parents, messed me up when I was a kid and I'm still dwelling on that when I'm 35, right? I haven't let go of that resentment, right? It's like, okay, obviously we can't go back and change my childhood and it doesn't do me any good to stay angry at them, right? It hurts our relationship, and then in turn it causes me to kind of lash out at them. So it's
yeah.
better to just go through that inventory and apologize for whatever I've done as an adult and let go of the past, and then I'll have a better relationship with my parents.
Yeah. I mean, you managed to get to this point, right, in your life, and I'm sure your parents had something to do with it. Even if it was a
Yeah.
little tiny bit, they still put that little bit of effort into getting you to where you are now, even if it's might have been not so great. You're right.
Yeah.
You have to live your own life eventually, and you have to give up all those resentments about the past. Then deal with them, not not give them up. Just deal with them, and then resolve them in your mind. Because my
Yeah,
parents didn't do the best job. They did the best they could. That's all they could do. You know what I mean? How could I fault them for doing their best? Maybe they didn't at times, but I wouldn't have known.
yeah, and it's also hard because sometimes you expect those people to come and apologize to you, you know, for whatever, and you know it's just not going to happen.
No.
It's like letting go of that expectation too.
Yeah, forget that noise. It sucks being an adult, right?
That is true.
You have to do all those adult things.
It's funny, as a kid, I always thought, oh, once I grow up and get out of the house, you know, I'll have control over my own life, then I'll be able to do all these, you know, things I think about doing. And then, of course, once you get out of the house, then you have all these responsibilities, and you know, it's not quite the free for all you'd expected. Well, I got away with
Exactly.
it for a little while.
You trade one set of chains for another. Figuratively speaking.
It's funny, Nerdy Rodent said, "You lot are my therapy." My mom was saying the other day, like she was like something about, well, isn't it, you know, great having a support group and you know, all this stuff with this, you know, the 12-step community. And I was like, well, yeah, that's cool, but I already had a community before that, you know. Like, and I was, you know, specifically talking about this, and my bands, you know. I was like, well, I've always had people I could go to, but you know, it's just it's a little bit different because we weren't really talking about recovery, but I had people in here encouraging me to go to 12 step, you know, before I went and everything. So
Well, you know, when I gave up certain things in my life, I started other things. There were other things that I started doing to help myself get over doing other things. You know what I mean? So things eventually got replaced and put aside, and then those were replaced and those were put aside, and now I'm in a space where I'm okay mentally. It's just kind of there's more to it, and you know, I'm in my 60s and I'm still looking forward to this thing that's still ever changing. That seems like I don't know what's going to happen in a few months. I don't know. Things that may be totally different in a year. You know, I don't know. So, am I babbling?
no, I get you. Um, yeah, it's all about having like hope for the future, right? Like having something to look forward to. I think that
Oh,
was a
that's
lot of my
important.
problem, was feeling very stagnant, just in my life and my situation. It was like, oh yeah, I can just like keep doing what I'm doing, but is this what I want to be doing? Is this like getting me anywhere, you know? And so a lot of
Silver
that
Wolf.
depression. Hmm?
Silver Wolf. Silver Wolf is in the chat.
Oh,
I
hey
just went.
Silver Wolf, good to see you.
I always give the horns. By the way, this
I,
means rock and roll. That means you rock. When I do this, it means you rock and roll. Hey, rock and roll. The energy of rock and roll. That's what this is all about to me. So don't admit, you know. I have Jill telling me, oh, he's making the Baphomet sign. The Baphomet sign. But that's not even the
no,
Baphomet sign. I think is 3 or 2 fingers. I think it's 2 fingers.
yeah, it's like that, yeah.
This is the Baphomet sign, Jill. And I think it's done with this hand. Anyway, I really don't know much about it. I'm not a
Studies of
Baphomet
Gecko.
fan.
Let me see, I
Oh,
can probably look it up here. How the
it's
hell do you
not
spell
this.
Baphomet?
It's not this. This is just ridiculous.
I'm not seeing it. Of course, they've got the Pinnacle.
I have pictures of it myself, actually, but Nerdy, I agree with what he said there.
What
Yeah, that.
what I did with the time and energy thing was just said, screw it. I'm going to do it anyway because what's the worst that can happen? Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to stop thinking and just do. You know what I mean? Just do what has to be done. Just do it, man. Don't think about it. Just go put your clothes on, get your brush your teeth, put your clothes on, get out, get in the car. Just do it, man. You know what I mean? Instead of thinking about it,
that's
take action.
But that's kind of like where I was at for a while with like being on autopilot. I was like, okay, I know I need to keep going to work because I need to keep making money or whatever. But being stuck in that routine of like, that was how I knew it was bad because I needed to figure out how I was gonna like get a drink, then take my shower, sober up enough to get to work, and then how am I gonna get away with drinking at work? You know, because I couldn't even go through a fucking shift sober, you know? It was like, it was pretty bad at that point.
It's like a 7
And
two
you find
jobs.
like, yeah, you're putting all that extra energy and time into planning how to have the next drink, you know?
Oh, yeah, I know. I do the same with cigarettes. I have to know, like, if I go somewhere, is there a place I can go and smoke? I have to know. And can I smoke like right now if I want? Yeah, I have to like know all these things. Makes me nuts.
Yeah, I definitely still do that with cigarettes. It's funny too because, you know, generally at the places I'm at, I'm the guy who has to enforce, you know, the smoking area. Oh, nope, you can't smoke here, you know. So I've got to know that right off the bat, you know. So then I know where I can smoke. So try to just like lead by example. But yeah, for cigarettes, I tried to quit a while back. Of course, I was still doing other stuff, so it didn't work out so well. But that was the first thing I tried to quit because I figured it's the first thing I started, so it should be like the first thing I would need to get rid of, you know. But it's been one of the hardest.
Well, I've had a few operations on my spine, and I needed to not be smoking, and so I had stopped like 4 or 5 times just in order to get through the operations and get healed up, but then I only started up again. So I don't know if that's
I don't know.
any
Even
indication.
when I got my tooth pulled, I wasn't supposed to smoke after that, and I still found a way. I like stuffed it up with gauze and just smoke out of the other side of my mouth, and I never got an infection or anything. But I was smoking that first day after I got.
I had oral surgery, and they told me not to smoke, and I just looked at him. I went, okay. I smoked from day one. From the 1 minute I got outside, I was about to light one up. But you know, it took longer to heal. It took much longer to heal. Instead of healing in 3 weeks, it took 7 for the
Right.
gums to heal. You know, because of the nicotine and the tar and the. You know.
Yeah, even there's say there's just something about the act, like when you suction, like even like with a straw or something like that, like using your mouth for suction like that.
Yeah, the suction too is a big deal. Because then you could pull out it's supposed to have it packed in there so it can heal and cover over. That's called a dry socket, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Smoke for 2 days, the hole is still healed.
Yeah. Oh. I remember when I was younger and I had a tooth pulled, and I think it was 3 days I was fine. And there was no big deal. I'm an old man now. I had a tooth pulled. Now I had to have surgery on my jaw. I had my gums this little sewed up. It was like, it was a big deal. When I was a kid, it was not like nothing happened.
This is the first one I've ever had pulled, and that was like 6 years ago. And I have like 3 more that need to go, and they keep getting put off for one reason or another. That I haven't been able to get them pulled, but I remember
Wow.
thinking like back then I needed them taken out, and they wouldn't do them all at once. And so now I'm like sitting here kind of like, well, how much worse can it get? Like this one, there's like really nothing left of it, but the root's still there, you know? I think they'd have to do a surgery to go in and remove that. But I'm like, is it even worth it? Like, can I just live with it, you know?
As long as it doesn't become infected, you'll be okay. But that's like a gamble, you know.
Yeah.
It could happen at any time. You could be catch an infection at any time.
That's
Well, I
what
had to
I
have
worry
oral.
about. My friend,
Yeah, I had to have oral surgery because my teeth were perfectly healthy. I developed a cyst underneath one of the tooth, underneath one of the molars. I'm like, what the fuck? How does that happen? Well, they have to remove the whole thing to get to the cyst. So I'm like, I lose a tooth because of that, a healthy tooth. Oh well.
Yeah, it was like my friend a few years ago. He was waiting to get his done, and something happened. It got infected, and it moved up into his eye socket. So his whole face was swollen. He almost lost his eye because it got so badly infected.
Yeah, shit like that can happen, yeah. Well, I'm being closely monitored, so I'm not like I've already been to all the doctors I could go to about what's going on, but so I'm all right for now.
Yeah.
I have a broken tooth in my head too. It's in my. I was eating a muffin and my tooth just broke. Like, what the fuck? I pull out a little piece of my tooth, the back molar. One of the pieces just broke off. So
Yeah, that's the weirdest when it comes out in something soft. You don't expect that. Like, you expect it to be something like hard. It would take you out.
yeah, I was just eating a muffin, a regular muffin. Oh, well.
Yeah, I had something similar to that with a chunk of my tooth that came out. I don't remember what it was, but it was something soft like that. It was very unexpected. But now I'm just kind of used to it. It's like I know the feeling when a little piece comes loose, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna have to take some ibuprofen, you know.
Yeah, my pain threshold is very high, so I don't realize how much pain I'm actually in, and I don't even take pain meds anymore. I just deal with the pain. I don't know, I think it's a ginger thing.
Yeah, I've got a bit of that too. Like, I had fractured my knuckle back in February. I think it was February or May. And I waited until June to go in about it. And by that point, they were like, well, it's already healing. They did the x ray, and they gave me a splint, but I couldn't wear it consistently, And so I just kind of lived with the fractured knuckle.
Oh boy. I guess they could have done something early on, right?
Yeah, if I had gone in early on, would have been better. It pops a little, but it's not too serious. I've done it once before when I was younger, and it healed a lot quicker, but this one took months, so.
there's this fighter. His name is Forrest Griffin in the UFC.
Yeah.
He broke his arm and didn't go to the doctor, and his arm is now like crooked, but it's all like one piece. But it's just kind of like a little off. It's like, I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but
Yeah, I'm familiar with him. I don't watch a lot of fightings, but
yeah, I used to be into the fights a lot. I'm not into it as much anymore.
I like the video games though. Those are fun.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The UFC video games.
sure. I play a lot of video games. Some of my favorite games are Doom. The re-edited series, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. World of Tanks. I play that. I have like 6 accounts on that, and I've been playing that for years. And Armored Warfare, play that a lot. Warhammer 40K, play that a lot.
Do you ever play War Thunder online?
Yeah, I have played War Thunder. Yeah, have played War Thunder. I don't have it installed right now, but I have played it.
Yeah, I need to get back into that. I was playing it at work a couple of years ago. I would play a lot at work, but
It's a pretty good game. I like the mechanics. I like and the like cutscenes, like when you shoot around, it goes through the tank and they show the whole thing going through. I don't know if you've seen that, but you can follow you around. If you shoot it, you can follow it to its ultimate end.
right, yeah.
It's pretty fun. That's about it. So I'm on Steam. I have a Steam account. I have all kinds of games that I just fool around with. You know, I forget
Yeah, I
that
need
game.
to-
It's like a race. It's a race game, and you play these characters that kind of bounce around, and you run, and you go through obstacles, and there's like all these other characters trying to do the same thing, and they're running all over the place, jumping up and down on top of platforms and up and over things and all around to the finish line. You know what I'm talking about?
No. You're racing on foot?
Yeah, it's like these little funny characters that bounce around. You know, they look like sort of minions. They look almost like minions.
Okay.
And you run. Everybody starts off in a line of people, of like characters, and they, start the race, and it's like an obstacle course, and you run through it. I forget what that's called. Does anyone know in side chat know what I'm talking about? Anyway, that's a great game for groups.
So she had planned a gaming stream earlier and it failed.
Oh,
Yeah, I was thinking about pulling up Among Us if nobody came in, and you came in, so and talking. But I've been playing Among Us a bit lately.
I've played that before. I don't know. I'm not very good at it though. The other one. What's that called? DayZ. You know,
Yeah.
DayZ. DayZ. I've played that. That's a pretty good game. Done that. You know, Simos Funk.
Yeah. I've watched his streams of that.
Yeah, I've went into.
I wanted to try
some
it
of the-
out, but I don't think my computer can handle it. I need a better computer.
Maybe, I don't know. I think there's a mobile version of the game, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, you need a lot of RAM, memory, and
Yeah.
a good graphics card.
Yeah, I think it's the graphics thing that won't do it because I just have a Chromebook, so
Chromebook. Oh, they have. I don't know what they have as far as graphics. It's built in the CPU, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever it is for the CPU, I guess.
Turn into an Among Us ape.
Uh, Among Us.
I'd like to make that avatar like ape in the spacesuit. That'd be funny.
I'm trying to find that game. Oh yeah, here it is. It's called Fall Guys.
Fall Guys?
Hmm.
Oh no.
Never heard of it?
Halsey. No, I haven't. Halsey, that sounds horrific. Woke up in the middle of surgery.
Horrific.
Yeah, she said that the anesthetic wore off early. And she woke up
This is the
with
game.
the end of her.
Anyway, this is the game.
Oh. That looks fun.
I'm just playing a video.
Okay.
See, this is like an obstacle. You have to run through all the obstacles. It's like a race to the finish.
So you let the other guy break down the barrier and fall down so you can run over him.
Yeah. But each character is somebody in the game playing. Each person running is someone playing the game. Anyway, that's it. There's a finish line.
Nice.
Funny game, right? Yeah, Fall
Yeah,
Guy.
I need to see if I can download that. Is that one free?
I don't think it's free. Brojo's live. He's been
Nice.
live for 22 minutes.
Oh, started at 4:20.
How appropriate. Yeah, Fall Guy's a good game.
It's 2:20, Mike.
Good for groups too. Like Among Us is good for groups. It's that kind of game.
Yeah. So like Among Us, when I started, there were a few people that were streaming, and so we would have like a backstage chat of our own in Discord, so we could like we could have a little team and communicate amongst ourselves, you know, like outside of the chat.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Now I just play with randos, so never know who to trust.
Yeah, there's this channel at Little Rage, ETTE, and she used to play that game. Fall Guy with like groups of people.
Yeah.
She loved that. She loved that game. You don't know who that is. I'm just mentioning that because Nerdy mentioned it.
Yeah, I think I've seen her around in the in like side chats, but I didn't know she had a channel.
Yeah, she still has a channel, but it's not that active anymore.
Oh, TeamSpeak? Is that another
GameSpeak.
Is that like Discord?
Mm. Yeah, it's for gaming.
It says Fall Guys is a free download.
Really? Oh,
Yep.
yeah, if you can get it, that's great. Yeah.
Funny, you can customize your character to look like a cheeseburger.
Yeah, it's great, right? I had to purchase it. I purchased it at Epic Games, but that was like a while ago, a long time ago.
Yeah, that's what
But I don't
I'm
have.
looking at right now.
Oh, on Epic,
Yeah.
I don't have the Epic. You need like to install the stupid Epic game launcher in order to run the game. I don't know if you have to do that with Steam. I don't know. So they may prompt you to download the Epic game launcher.
Probably.
But it's free.
Yeah, it says it's free, but but it says you have to pay for in-app purchases or whatever.
Oh, the base
Or
game
the
is free.
character upgrades or whatever. Yeah.
That's like, what's that game where you
See what
drive
it
around
says.
and you play soccer? You drive around in cars.
I don't know. You play soccer with the cars?
Somebody's calling me. It's soccer with cars. Yeah.
Oh.
Hello?
Yeah, it's trying to get me to make an account with them. Let's see. This one. Create account.
I'm actually on the phone with my doctor, so just give me a moment. Give me a moment.
Okay, no problem. Creating my Epic Games account here.
It's my annual physical.
Nice.
I'm in better shape.
I just had one
I'm
of
in
those
better.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm in better shape than my doctor.
Nice. Well, of course, now I have to verify through my email.
I mean, with all the things going on, I can still drop and do 20.
Nice.
So I
Nice.
can't be too bad. I mean, what 60-year-old man can do that?
Unless you're Wim Hof, you know. You know who that guy is, the Iceman?
Oh yeah, I know him.
I was just
That
watching
whole
an
thing
interview with him.
has a lot of validity to it, but it also causes. It's like you have to cause damage to. It's like you causing damage to right the damage, kind of, by freezing.
Right.
It makes your body react and causes certain chemicals to be pumped into your bloodstream because of that. That's valid, that works, but that's a lot of stress on the body, man.
Yeah, it's all about conditioning. Yeah, like that's a lot of the way that I've seen like doing recovery. Like one of the most important things for me to do is like I was doing a lot of physical labor, and I think that really helped a lot because early on when I was doing it, when I was doing recovery, but I wasn't really doing any hard work, I felt restless all the time. And so then I had to like start working out, and I was doing meditation and all of that, but it wasn't until I went to work for this guy and I was doing just like a lot of really physical tasks, and I just do like various things for the guy around the house, you know. But it mostly involves, you know, lifting and all of that. And it's pretty demanding, but like those were some of like the best days. Like just for as far as my overall like mental health, my attitude, being able to sleep at night and not feeling restless.
Hmm. I know that restlessness at night, because it disturbs your sleep, and then it messes with your health. The rest of the day is like crappy. Because you're not sleeping right.
Yeah.
So, and then it builds up. It doesn't. You can't get that back. And then if you miss not the night's sleep because of the restlessness, it's even worse. So it's like a cumulative.
Yeah.
Well, good thing I don't suffer from
And
too
then you get
much
to feel like
restlessness.
you've accomplished something. Yeah, that's good. I still get it all the time. It's like, but now I'm like at least mentally better able to deal with it.
Do you have like a bed, right? Like I have a bed.
Yeah.
You have a bed, right? Do you sit on your
Yeah,
bed?
mine's right there.
Do
Not
you use it
usually.
like a
That's why I
chair?
keep the. No,
No, you don't.
no. That's why I keep the
Well,
office chair right here.
that's one suggestion my father has taught me. Don't sit on the bed. And when I go to sleep, I lay down in the bed. That triggers my body to sleep. And it always has for some reason. But if it was a chair, if the bed was a chair as well as a bed, it might not have that trigger ability that it has, because it's a chair too, so I can just sit in it and sit down and not go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's a psychological.
Yeah.
I'm tricking myself. Is what. It's not really a trick.
Yeah, I
though.
get what you're saying.
You
But
know
yeah,
what I mean?
it's a part of the conditioning too. Like you know that when
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
to
yeah.
bed, it's time to sleep. Yeah. See, I've always had this problem since I was a kid, or like I'm like programmed nocturnally, so I'll always get my second wind, like, around 9, 10 o'clock at night. And, so, like, if I can be in bed by 11, and I've had like a full day, usually I'll get to sleep all right, but then I'll wake up very early. But if I go to bed like after 11, say around midnight, then my body for some reason I toss and turn, and then I'll want to sleep all through the morning.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Silver Wolf, she sits on her bed all the time. Well,
I know.
there you go. We're all different. So there you go.
She says she has no desk and no chair, so yeah, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do.
Some people, me, it's just been a way of I've always done it. So that's just for me. But I
When I was
suggest
younger,
people try that. I suggest people
Yeah.
try that though, like not using the bed like a chair, if they have that option. Of course, if you don't, then you don't.
When I was younger, I would spend a lot of time in bed. Like when I was gaming a lot, I would game from my bed. I'd be laying in bed watching movies like all the time. It's like now I'm usually sitting up at the desk. But that's been really since like I lived in the car, like off and on for a few years. Like I just stopped doing that. I guess just not having a bed, kind of reprogrammed me.
Right.
Nerdy Rodent says, I've always been a night owl too, so I fill myself with things like valerian an hour before bedtime. I've heard about valerian, but I haven't tried it. I was taking melatonin for a while, but that kind of stopped working for me and it started giving me night terrors. And now I have this medication. It's actually an anti-seizure medication, but they prescribe it for all kinds of stuff. It's gabapentin or Neurontin. And so if I take one of those a couple hours before bedtime, usually it'll put me out. But yeah, I definitely try to prefer natural supplements over any type of pharmaceutical.
Do you nap? Do you take like naps at all, or do you just like go to bed once and that's it?
So yeah, if I don't have anything to do during the day, and like if I wake up super early, like 6 or 7 in the morning, then I'll usually try to take a nap around noon or 1. But any later than that, it'll mess with my sleep later on. So I usually don't try to nap too late in the afternoon.
Well, I guess I'm older, and I find myself napping quite a bit. Quite a bit.
My naps
guess
are
I
like, I consider
I
it's
know.
like half meditation because I'll just kind of lay there and try to meditate, and then if I do fall asleep, usually that's when I have like some pretty vivid lucid dreams. I like that.
No,
Like paying attention to my dreams.
no. I don't. I just dream. I have no awareness of my dreams. I mean, I know when I'm dreaming, but I can't do anything with it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, there are times when it's like powerful enough, like I'll wake up, like, and I'm kind of frightened, but I'm also excited, and then I'll like force myself to lay back down and go back into the dream.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't continue. Like, if I have a dream and I felt a certain way and I want to repeat that, I can't lay down and redo the dream. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be like in that instant when I still have a clear memory of it. And you're like, okay, I'm going back to that memory, Like, otherwise, if I'm up for a few minutes, it'll fade away and then I can't do it.
Oh, nah, that's not happening for me.
Yeah.
Once I wake up, that's it. I remember, but I can't go right back into that state. It's just not happening for me.
I guess I've kind of trained myself over the years. Like when I was younger, I was a big daydreamer, and so like if we were in class, if I was bored or I finished my work, I'd like put my head down on my desk, and I would just train myself to just kind of like do like lucid dreaming.
Hmm. Well, I guess as I got older, uh, my sleep patterns changed a lot. So,
Yeah, that definitely happens. I've gone through phases, especially since getting sober, like where I would only get like 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, and then then some nights like it catches up with me, and I'll sleep for like 12 hours. Kind of oscillating back
yeah.
and forth.
Yeah, if I stay up late, it really wreaks havoc on my body. But then if I
Yeah,
go
I
to
hear
bed
that.
early, yeah, if I go to bed early, then I wake up at like 3 in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm like, it's still fucking dark out. Why am I awake?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Luckily, like I'm now on a schedule where that's required like a lot of days. I have to wake up at like 3 or 4 to get ready for work. So I'm starting work at like 5 a.m. So that works out.
Hey, it's good to have work.
Yeah, yeah. My first week back. Well, now officially my second week. So I'm like that's good because yeah, I had this time around it was like a lot more financially taxing than the last time. So
You're in your 20s or what? How old are you? You in your
no, I'm
30s?
35. Yeah,
35?
yeah.
Well, man, listen, I'm in my 60s, right? And when I was your age, I had no thought for the future, and now I'm fucked. So I'm telling you, buy an IRA, get something soon. If you don't have something to retire on, do it tomorrow, trusty.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
yeah, I kind of accepted that I'm probably gonna end up working till the day I die, but I don't know how feasible that is.
No,
I had one of those, like a
that's not
401k or
feasible,
something
dude.
like that.
That's not
Yeah,
feasible. You don't want to be working at 60. And now I can't work, and now I'm forced to have to live a certain way because I have nothing. I didn't plan for this, and now I have nothing. I'm just telling you, trusty ape, just to your own, from somebody who's lived there, who's gone there, done there. I'm there. I'm in it right now because of the shit I did when I was your age. It's all fucked up for me now. So I'm telling you right now, when at your age, please, trusty, go do something for your future, not like next week or this, like next month. Plan on putting some money away for the future somehow, whatever that is.
yeah. Well, I keep getting this offer from my bank. They hooked us up with a company that does life insurance policies. So I want to get a life insurance policy just so my kid was covered. But
There you go. That's a step in the right direction. Because I have nothing to cover my ass. When I wasn't thinking, oh, when I get old, what am I going to do? What? Wasn't thinking about it. But now I'm like, why didn't I? Why didn't I do those things? So,
yeah,
just saying, you're young. You're still
yeah,
young.
I hear you. Yeah, I definitely need to make better, yeah, well, just do better planning. Like because a lot of the plans that I had up until this point haven't worked out. So it's like, okay, fallback plan, but you need something a little more solid for my future my kids' future. So, like stuck in the routine of just paying bills, paying child support, and not really coming up very much.
Yeah, Halsey says muscle mass is important. Muscle mass? Don't lose. I've lost so much muscle mass over the years, it's incredible. You know?
Yeah.
But
It takes a lot of work to keep it on. Like, I'll gain a little bit, but like my weight is just extremely stable. So it's like because of my metabolism, I need to eat a lot to bulk up, and then I need to work out a lot more than I do. So I know a friend of mine who takes HGH, and he swears by it, but I don't know. I was skeptical about taking anything like that.
well, I think you have to work with your own metabolism and try and find a balance when you eat. The foods are important too, and exercise. I used to work out a lot when I was a kid. It's just I went to school. I was an athlete in school. I had a gym where I was lifting weights. I was on the football team. Even when I was in junior high, I was lifting weights. I had weight sets at home. I had weights at the gym. So I was always like building my muscles as a kid until even in the military, I was out. I would go to the gym when the day was done. I mean, that's like craziness. Why go to? I'm in the military. Why do I need to go to the gym for any? No, you don't. I don't need to go to the gym, but I was doing that because I lived on base, and we had the gym there. And when there's time off, I went to the gym because I was a nutcase. I wanted to abuse my body. I mean, I don't know, but I did it. But I paid for that too. All the exercising, because my spine is all screwed up.
Right? Yeah, you got to do it right. I know there's something still going on with my back, and I think it's from when I was younger, but again, one of those things where it's like an injury gone untreated so long. I think it's probably just some permanent damage there. But yeah, I have this. I don't know what it is, but just in between my neck and my shoulder here, and it's like that all the time.
Yeah.
The only thing that really fixes it is if somebody pops my back, and that'll work for a while.
Wow, that's not good. Yeah. Well, the
Surprised to
bicycle,
find out that.
riding a bicycle is some of the best, and swimming, some of the best exercises you can do. And I've always done both. So, and I've been riding a bike since I was a kid, and I still ride. I still have a bicycle. And I still ride all the time.
Yeah, that's
And
one thing I need
I
to do
lived
is
in New
fix my
York.
bike.
I lived in New York. I rode my bicycle to work and back, and for over 20 years, I did that. It's like my life.
Yeah.
So that really helped me a lot, riding that bicycle. Little did I know it was instrumental in the way I feel today, physically.
Yeah, I was riding my bike to work for a while last year, and it was long rides. Like I'd have to ride over the Richmond San Rafael Bridge here, and so I'd be riding like 7 miles or something like that.
Hmm.
My legs were jacked though. I was feeling really good, but I was still drinking all the time. So that was an issue. Like I have to take a break from my bike ride to slam a beer. Kind of counterproductive.
Yeah. Well, I've always been it's always part of my life is the bicycle. Always had a bike, always. I can't remember a time not being without a bicycle, except when I
Yeah,
was a really young child.
I've got my bike in storage at my mom's house, but the chain's rusted out, so I think I just need to replace it. But other than that, it's in pretty good condition.
Hmm.
Oh, and I think maybe one of the tires went flat. Maybe I need a tube.
Yeah, I have like a hybrid bicycle. I have pictures of it. I have a picture of it. Let's see. Here it is.
Nice.
Yeah, I ride this thing around. It's Iron Horse. It's the brand. Not around anymore. But that's the one I use every day. Almost every day.
How much you pay for that?
Well, that's. Let me get back to it. This is I bought the bike originally. It didn't have it. I bought it. I just paid for the frame. The frame was about $300, free and change.
Okay.
And I took all the parts off of it and just utilized the frame. And I put all my own parts on it. Better parts, tires, drivetrain, handlebars, all that stuff. The down tube, the front suspension, the rear shock, everything was changed. Everything I just rebuilt on my own. So the whole bike costs about $1,200 if you add up all the parts and just the parts alone. About $1,200. But that was over time.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about trying to get one of those, just get the motor that I can attach onto mine.
Well, this is all a manual. There's no electric. There's no motor. It's all human power.
Oh, okay.
It's not a motorized bicycle. It looks like it is, but it's not. I blew my calf muscle out on my right leg, just lifting my leg over the bicycle to get on it.
Damn.
Yeah, and I was out of commission for like 2 months. Wasn't able to ride. That sucked.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that was bad. It was like the world's worst Charlie horse I had in my right calf. And the calf almost went up the calf muscle almost was into the back of my knee. It went up so far. And just nothing I could do about it. Just had to relax.
Halsey says on the whole muscle thing, if it's not possible to build much muscle, doing something like yoga or adapted yoga will help maintain or improve flexibility. Yeah. I need to get back into that. I was doing some yoga out on the farm, and then something I haven't really done too much of since I've been out.
Well, I used to go to the
stretch in the morning.
Stretching. I used to go to the gym and swim. They have a 50-meter pool, and I go and do laps in the pool. But I don't have membership anymore because my housemate had the account with the health club, and I was a guest. I would go and swim. Great exercise, swimming.
Yeah, I need to do more of that. I haven't been swimming in a few years. Although I did use the hot tub at the center I was at. Yeah.
But I gained a lot of muscle mass from swimming.
Yeah.
actually. My legs and in my like shoulders and arms and back. Just from doing the American crawl, you know? But I used to swim a lot. And when I was younger, I was a lifeguard for the Jewish Community Center, a local Jewish community center. I used to go and was a lifeguard every weekend. I was lifeguard certified, and I did lifeguard stuff when I was, but it was just pools. The lifeguards for pools, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
not the
Did you
same
ever
as
have to
like-
pull anybody out?
No, no. Thankfully, I
Yeah.
could have done it, but I'm glad I didn't have to. No, I did that. I did that for the Jewish Community Center for like 3 years, and then they closed the pool down. I think for some reason. I don't know. Remember what the reason was, but they were remodeling and building the build. I don't know what it was, but that was in my high school days.
Yeah, I used to have a mentor out here. We used to go out to the JCC and we'd use the pool and stuff years and years ago.
Yeah, they always seem to have a pool. The JCCs.
Yeah.
They were good for always having that pool.
I do remember it being weird though, because at the time I thought I was Catholic, you know. So it's like, should a Catholic person be at the Jewish center? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was a lifeguard there, but they didn't ask me if I was Jewish to be a lifeguard. They just wanted a lifeguard. They didn't, and I didn't say, "Hey, I don't believe in God." I didn't even bother to say anything. It wasn't even brought up. And I didn't care.
You know, one of those secular Jewish organizations, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't care what I was as long as I was able to do the lifeguard job. They didn't care. They could care less. Could have been a Satanist or a Buddhist or who knows. They didn't care.
Hey, what's up, Atheist Mo? Good to see you. It's been a while.
What's up, Mo?
Well, on that note, though, I guess I better get wrapping up so I can go get ready for my evening appointment here.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, thanks for coming by, Gio. It was good talking to you.
Oh,
Got
sure.
anything?
Sure.
Got anything planned? Anything special going on today?
Well, I'm always uploading new branding videos, branding example videos to my channel that people can go and say, "Oh, I like that. I'd like that for my branding." And then you just give me a call or give me, you know, an internet call. And that can be your branding. But every usually twice, 3, 4 times a week, I upload new videos of examples of, you know, branding. So that's what I do.
Excellent.
Check
Yeah,
out Geo
yeah.
Sam. Check out Geo Sam on YouTube. That's all.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and Gio also made the channel intro that I used today. So yeah,
Oh, you do?
if you like what you see, yeah.
All right.
All right, everybody. Well, I'm gonna sign this thing off, and I'm going to say, much love, be well, and stay trusty.